Episode of May the Codes Be With You. Today we are going to continue the series that we had started before, which relates to web development. We have already talked about HTML basics in two previous videos. So if you are new to this playlist, then I would recommend you to watch the first two videos, then come back to this video. Since HTML will tell you how to construct your web page and CSS will help you in styling your web page. So CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and these will help you to enhance the look of your web page that you have made using HTML. So if you want to refer to anything related to CSS, best resource is using the MDN for looking at things related to web development. Anything related to web development, you will be able to find it on MDN Web Docs. So this is for cascading style sheets. So let's get started and I will walk you through everything once we encounter them. So what I've done is I've created a HTML file, normal HTML file. And I'll create a few tags over here. Right. So these are our tags, and if we want to style them, there are three ways to do that. So one way is to create a style tag inside the head tag, and you can simply write a styling code in between this style, starting style and an ending style tag. The second thing that you can do is you can either write style inside as an attribute to div, and whatever styling you want to give, you can give it over here. And the third thing that you can do is what you can create a new file, name it anything you want, but the extension should be .css. Once you do that, inside your head you will use a link tag, and inside href you can give style.css, which is the name of the file that we just created. So I will show you how to do all three of them so that you are able to do whatever you want according to what you need. I personally prefer using a separate style sheet which stores only the styles, and this HTML page will store only the basics layout of our web page. So I will remove this for now, and also this. Right. So I have already linked my style sheet to our HTML page. So what I do is I want my div tag that is over here to have a text which is red in color. So what I would do is div color red, and I want my paragraph tag to have a background color of something light, some light color, I guess azure. Right. Now if we refresh our page, we can see that the div tag has text of red color and our paragraph tag has a background of azure that is somewhat light blue. So these are called attributes that we are giving to them to style a particular HTML tag. Right. Now what we can do is, for example, I'll show you some more tags before I can proceed with anything else. For example, I want this paragraph to have font size greater than this div text. So what I will do is, I will go to my style sheet, I will write font size to 28 points, and I also want to give it a border 1 pixel. It should be solid and it should be black. So we can see that there is a, so first of all the text is of 28 points, the border is of 1 pixel, width, and it is solid. It can be anything, it can be dotted as well. So you can see it's dotted now. So, and you must know this, that by default the size of the text that comes without specifying any text size is 14 points. So it would be equal to that of this is a div. I would make it 28 points again. Right. Now the second thing that you must know about CSS is that we have two things. One is called class and one is called ID. So if you want to specifically style a particular tag, for example, if you want, I'll add more P's and divs to it. So for example, I've added a lot of, and I'll remove these styles. I specifically want this particular tag to have a specific style and this to have a specific style. So what we do is we use two things. One is called div, one is called ID, and the other one is called class. So class can be assigned to more than one tags at the same time, whereas ID is specified to only one tag. So ID is unique to each tag, whereas class can be applied to multiple tags together. So what I would do is I would give it a class called big. I'll give that to alternate tags. Right. And in my style, what I can do is I'll give dot big. Dot means I am referring to a class. So it will go through my HTML and find out every tag that has a class called big. So dot is used for referring to a class. I will give it a font size of, for example, 25 points. So as you can see, every alternate tag is now bigger in comparison to the other tags. Right. Now what I want is I want to give the remaining tags a class called bold. And inside this I will say dot bold font weight. I can write bold, or I can specify a number. So for example, you can see these are bold now. I can even specify a number for this. So for example, I'll give 800. 800. Not much difference, I guess. 1000. There's no much difference. So yeah. See, it's bold. So we can do that. We can add multiple classes to a same element. For example, I want to write big and bold. So the first one becomes both big and bold. All we need to do is we need to give a space between the two classes that we are specifying, which makes it easier for the browser to look at things. So it will be able to first identify, okay, this particular tag has a big tag, and then a space, then it identifies that it also has a bold class. So it will apply the styles of both the classes to this particular tag. Right. Now there is one thing called ID. So ID is unique to every tag. First, I'll write it div1. Okay. So while we are referring to a ID, what we have to do is we use hash. Just like we use dot for class, we use hash for uh, IDs. So div1, I want to give it a color of red, for example. So you can see that it is applied to this particular div to which we have given ID as 1, div1. So there are a lot of selectors that are there. First is called type selector, wherein we specify input like we did in the previous styling, wherein I specified entire div. So this is going, every div in this particular HTML page is going to take that style. So I'll give it a color of blue. See, all divs got a color of blue. However, I have specified a ID for this particular div, so it will take the style for that particular ID only. It will not. So ID overtakes the div tag. So the element type selector is overtaken by a particular ID. Right. Now the second one, third one is called class selector. We've already talked about the class selectors, and we've also talked about IDs, which is here. The third thing is called attribute selector. It is something different. I'll show it to you what it means. So in this case, what I'll have to do is I'll create two input boxes. To one, I'll give input type text and value as ABCD. And to another, I will not give anything. I'll just give it disabled, which means we cannot change the values inside this. It will stay the same and it will be hidden for us to use. See, in this we can do anything we want, but this will stay hidden. So what I'll do is I'll go to my styles, and inside this I'll write input for disabled. It should be 300 pixels. Oh, wait. So I'll write input type equals to text, and it will take font size 30 points. So as you can see, we increased the size for this particular input box. So this was all about selectors. There are specific types of selectors as well, which are called combinators. We will talk about these in a separate video altogether, so that it makes much more sense to you, and it makes it easier for you to understand how uh, combinators work. So basically, they identify a relationship between multiple elements that come with each other or come within one another or come adjacent to each other, and we can style them together. So that is about combinators. We will be discussing that in a separate video. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you like the explanation. We will be posting more content very soon.